myself, because I imagine most of you already have a little bit of an idea of what you may think I'm like, or where I've come from, or how I grew up. But winning Miss World certainly was one of the most exciting things I've ever done in my life. It was all totally by accident, how it all happened. But as I said, some people imagine that perhaps I'm, from a well-to-do family and went to private schools and that type of thing. And it wasn't really like that for me growing up. So I thought I'd just share a little bit of my background and how I became Miss World and how I became a volunteer for the Royal Fire Service. Okay, I'm one of 4 children. The 4th one hadn't been created there. I'm the girl with the curl in the middle. And I was born in Blacktown, and my mum and dad were a typical couple of those days, born in 1952. And they saved for the block of land, and they built the garage. We lived in the garage till we could afford to buy the house, and it was one of those typical fibre houses of that era. We were loved. My mum and dad worked very hard, and it wasn't easy. As a child, I became quite ill. I got rheumatic fever, and I was in Camberdown Children's Hospital for about a year and a half. And the most important thing was rest. And I don't know how you keep a person like me still. I just never have and never will be able to sit still. So that was one of the major obstacles for my mum and my dad. Then after a while, sadly, we lost my dad. He died of a stroke at 40 years old. So then my mum had the unbelievable task of bringing 4 children up on her own. We had a dog called Bluey, of course. I don't know anyone who hasn't had a dog called Bluey at some stage in their life. And those lovely check pants somewhere in there was actually Mum's original overcoat. So everything got recycled, everything got passed down, although not much got past me to my younger sister because I used to wreck things. I was the absolute tomboy, as I said. I used to come back from my grandmother's house. We went up there every school holidays because Mum was working, and it was in Candos Quarry. So it's not Candos the town, the actual quarry where they dug the rock out. And I loved it. I followed my big brother everywhere, and I always went home with either a missing tooth or stitches in my knee or a broken collarbone or something, but I had one hell of a good time in the bush. That was where my love of the bush started, and my happiest memories as a child certainly was in the country. I started modelling when we went back to Sydney after Dad died. I ended up going to school, Fairfield Girls High. We lived in a tiny 2-bedroom place with my grandmother, so everything was squashed, and as I said, Mum was very resourceful. My English teacher saw me in a school play. I certainly couldn't sing, but did a little bit of acting at school, and she encouraged me to do some modelling after I finished a course in accountancy. I got a scholarship to study that, and I don't know if there's any accountants here or not, but I can tell you, it was so boring. I was not cut out to be an accountant, and I learnt that fairly quickly, and then I went on to do a bit of modelling. So while I was modelling, I encountered my first boyfriend. Lovely man he was. I went to Tasmania with him. He absolutely broke my heart due to the fact he took a great liking of my best girlfriend at the same time. And as he came back home to discuss it with me, I was standing there, and of course, when I realised this, I had just gone away to represent Tasmania, actually, in Miss Australian Beach Girl. Came back, I knew something was different. I could smell a rat, but wasn't quite sure what it was. So a girlfriend, another girlfriend sort of dogged him in, and as he came home that night, he was eating a Chico roll, and I was ropeable because I understood you have a boyfriend, you get married, you have babies, and you live happily ever after. Boy, did I have a lot to learn. I mean, I was 19 then, and I'm 62 now, and I'm still learning, so particularly about me. I said to him it was over and I was leaving, and he said, "You'll never do that. You won't leave." I said, "I am. It's finished." And he said, "You won't leave. You're never going to make it in life without me." And that was the best thing he could have said. Talk about inspiration. And as I got him on the shoulders and did the big kick, went the Chico roll. I wasn't aiming for the Chico roll, but the Chico roll went flying, and I was determined to show him I could have a better life without him. So being a total mess, I didn't want to go back home to Sydney to my mum and family because I felt like a failure, and it was not quite the sort of values I think my mum wanted me to have. So I went to Melbourne and I started modelling there, and it was there I got involved in Miss World. I actually won the Miss Australian Beach Girl, because in those days, you may remember, or those that are old enough, you know, everything was about the bikini girl and the page 3 mirror bird and that sort of thing. So, and I won a Valiant Charger. Oh, I wish I had it today. It would be fantastic. Yeah, it was a great prize. And then a trip to Hawaii, which I never got to take. So through that, the stumbling blocks, I thought, I will show Darryl Brown, that was his name, I will show him, and I don't care who knows that, and I will show him I can make it without him, and I had an opportunity to go in for the Australian selection as Miss Australia for the International Beauty Quest. Miss World is actually held in London, at the Royal Albert Hall in London, and Miss Universe, which is much bigger now because, what's his name bought it? Donald Trump. Bought it, and that is the American contest. So basically we selected 5 girls for the 5 international contests, and I was selected to go to Miss World, and I thought, I was so thrilled. I had an airline ticket to London. I mean, that was a really big deal. No one in our family had been overseas, and Linny Green, my real name's Lynette, I got Belinda when I started modelling, and Linny Green had an air ticket to London. Big deal for our whole family. So my big purchase was a cardboard suitcase from Woolworths, borrowed all my clothes off my sisters and girlfriends, and I bought a Hartnell dress wholesale while I was down in Melbourne. And off I went. I had no idea of what I was going to. Signed the entry form, off I went to London. And I kept thinking, Linny Green in London, that was my swimsuit. Isn't that dang? Yeah, it reminds me of that Fantasia movie, the little hippo with the, prancing sort of thing. That was just after I had won Miss Australian Beach Girl, and I had a broken heart then, and I was off to London. I also won that year Photographic Model of the Year as well. So I was never really into beauty quests. It was just a stumbling block, just to prove to Darryl that I could do something, that I was a worthwhile person. And so off I went. And as I said, it was 2nd of December 1972, I was actually crowned Miss World in the Royal Albert Hall in London. And at that very same time, to give you an idea of how long ago it was, Gough Whitlam became Prime Minister the same night as I was crowned. So the big question was, who was going to get the Woman's Weekly cover the next week? Myself or, the name? Margaret. And I had got 1 week and she got the following week. So there I was in London, absolutely thrilled. But while you're there, it's just the most amazing feeling. The cameras are all around and you wait for the announcement. You know, there were 5 of us standing there and you wait for the gut or the dut or the jut, and they said, 4th is Miss Austria. And I stood forward and went, oh God, it wasn't me. You know, and I was waiting. I would have been thrilled to come 4th. Little did I know I was actually going to be the one. Miss World 1972, Miss Australia. My knees went from under me. I went blank. The adrenaline was pumping through my body. I don't remember walking. The next sort of, I think 30 minutes, I really don't remember. It was just a numbing sensation to see everything go black and then just one spotlight on little Linny Green from Blacktown. So it was an amazing experience. During the rehearsals, we had a little technical hitch. So while they were fixing that, they asked some of the girls to just do a little bit of entertainment, just do something for about 2 minutes from their country that represents their country. So they were drawing them out of the hat, and they just kept going until the lighting or the technical thing was fixed. Out came Miss Thailand, and she did, you know, like a finger dance type of thing, and oh, she was so petite, absolutely beautiful. Then comes out Miss USA, and that was Linda Carter, and she went on to be Wonder Woman. And so Miss USA was Wonder Woman. Then she sang a beautiful song, American song, and it was wonderful. And then I came out after her, and she could really sing. And I came out and thought, what the hell do I do that's Australian? And I couldn't think of anything. So I got out there and I'm going, my boomerang won't come back. Oh, I waved the thing all over the place. And then I ran out of words first one, time the kangaroo down, time the kangaroo down. So as I lost one, I went to the next, and they were all laughing and just thought it was great fun. And they said, Belinda, they say Miss Australia, they don't call you by your name. Miss Australia, that was fantastic. No one else even thought about doing comedy. And it wasn't comedy, you know. I've never been known for my singing, I can certainly tell you that. So at that stage when they announced my name, it was like in 1 second, my whole life changed forever. Here I am now at 61 still talking about that split second that changed my life. And it changed for my whole family, particularly my mum. She was a cleaner at one of the motels and had a sign out the front, Mrs. World works here. She was so proud, and it was a hectic year. What I didn't know at the time was I had to stay in London for the whole year. That piece of paper, the entry form, was my binding contract. Every girl signs it. The winning girls become, so you're already hooked, you know, signed, sealed and delivered, so to speak. So 10 days after, I left my car parked on the street in Melbourne. It got stripped, you know, because I couldn't get back to get it, and my family were in Sydney. So 10 days after winning Miss World, I went over to LA for rehearsals, and I went on Bob Hope's Christmas tour to Vietnam and other US Army bases. So I went into there, that's the first time I saw porcelain nails and silicone boobs. Unbelievable, you know, and I just sort of thought, these girls were there, and then there was me. And I wasn't very comfortable, I was really out of my comfort zone. And on the Air Force aircraft, Bob said, you know, are you okay about this? I said, no, I'm not, I'm not like them, you know, look at me, you know, I said, I don't fit in. And he said, no, those girls there, they're selling sex, right? They're meant to be sexy. You're not meant to be sexy. You're meant to be the sweetheart back home, or the kid's sister, or the next door neighbour, or the child's sweetheart, whatever it may be. So I realised there where I did fit, and I was a lot more comfortable. But in that time, we went in 10 days. We went from LA to the Aleutian Islands, Japan, Korea, Thailand, Vietnam, Singapore, Diego Garcia, Guam, and back to the States. So that was pretty hectic, doing shows all the way along. When we got to LA, I had to change planes to fly back to London for a New Year's Eve function I was meant to be doing. We got fog bound. So 2 days later, I got there and I said, I don't want to do this anymore. You know, I've been in a plane constantly. And the worst thing was no frequent flyer points, of course, like we have these days. But it was an incredible experience. Miss Norway came second, and Miss Israel came third in the contest. And that's little old me in the middle. In London, as I said, it was hectic. I had to do a 6-week tour of United Kingdom as soon as I came back from the Bob Hope tour. And the whole year was like that. Instead of being modelling assignments, it was like I just flew first class from country to country and met lots of amazing people, some famous like royalty and movie stars and rock stars and all that kind of thing. So it was exciting and it was busy, but it was lonely. If you can imagine being in amongst all these people, I was lonely because it was such a fast pace. You never really got to know anyone, and no one really got to know me. That's with Bob Hope on stage. That was in Vietnam on Christmas Day. And this is Paris. I had a 5-day assignment in Paris. I've never worked so hard before in my life. And believe it or not, getting a photograph taken is tiring. Even going to the airport to fly back to London, they were still sticking hats on my head and that sort of thing, because they pay X amount of money to have you for a certain amount of time, and they make sure that, you know, they get as much out of you as they possibly can. I modelled for, that's Christian Dior there, Yves Saint Laurent, Pierre Cardin, Valentino, all the top labels of that time. So I just modelled their spring collection. And being French, they don't eat. All they do is smoke and drink coffee. And I said, look, I'm Australian, you know, if you feed me, you'll get a lot more out of me than smoking cigarettes and drinking coffee, which I guess is why they stay so slim. That's Pierre Cardin again. The girls know, I don't know who that was. But, and then I came back to Australia after that year. It was a great year, but it was a year of constant smiles. Everything was about how I looked, what I weighed, you know, what I wore. And my life was like that for quite a while. And when I hit 50, I kind of felt quite differently about it, and particularly now. You know, I am jeans, no makeup, just a t-shirt and jeans and no makeup sort of girl, and quite comfortable with that, which is one of the reasons I love being here. You know, like, people just want you to be yourself and accept you as you are. Well, that's what I've found, and my experience has been. I think I talk about Miss World as being a highlight of my life, but the biggest highlight of all, for me, most certainly wasn't Miss World and it wasn't the modelling. It was having my children, definitely. I have 2 daughters. There they are there, Jessie and Sally. I married, I think, the most wild bush cowboy you'd ever find on this earth, John Singleton. And I used to always say to him, I just want us to be normal. And he'd say, well, why the hell didn't you marry someone who's normal? And I thought, well, that's a good point. You know, I couldn't, you know, fault him as far as being a dad, I must say. Jessie, the eldest one there, just got married recently, and at the wedding, he said, oh, can I swear? Because he does swear, but it's not real bad, but he said, I was a shithouse husband, wasn't I? And I went, yep. But he was a good dad. I can certainly give him that. And he has been a good mate to myself and fantastic dad to the children. What have I done? Okay. Yeah. So being a single mum, one of the things that kept me going at that stage was being fit, looking after my health. Because I knew, as difficult as it was, I knew I couldn't crumble because I had 2 children to bring up, and I wanted to be the best mum I possibly could. My childhood, I didn't have a lot of time with my mum because she was always working, at some stages 2 jobs. So we ran the family house, but I just wanted to be the best mother I could be to the children. It was a challenge. Jessie turned 21 there and did a Moulin Rouge thing, and there were the 3 girls in the house, and it was a very loud house. And, you know, swapping clothes and that sort of thing. There is the love of my life. If I've ever loved a bloke, that's him. His name's Ralph. He passed away 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago, and I've just got a new boxer a few weeks ago, a little girl from Boxer Rescue called Bonnie. So nothing will ever replace Ralph, but Bonnie is my new boy. Oh, besides this boy, imagine I travel the world, I meet all sorts of exciting people and famous people, and go out with, you know, people like Julio Iglesias and Rod Stewart and all the rest. And I travel and meet all these people, and then I come home here and I marry a goat farmer from the back of Burke. Well, I can say one thing for sure, I certainly got this right. We got married a year ago. We do car rallies. This is our 13th year of organising car rallies. There's just Steve and myself. It takes us a year. We finish one, wrap it up, start the next. We raise about 50 to 60 grand, and it all goes straight back into the community. We're a little bit, we sort of do head this area, and of course Cowra, Bathurst, Orange, and it's just for people within the community. We did do it for the Paralympics, but we felt they've got strong sponsorship now with Qantas and Toyota, so we really want every single dollar that we earn to go directly to the people. So we buy the wheelchairs, or we pay for their respite care, or we might pay their electricity bill, or something, so that every single dollar does go to the people who need it. So really, I think I really didn't marry a man. I married a saint. He's the most wonderful human being I've ever come across. And we've known each other since 1985. And I used to say, oh yeah, I know Steve Mason. Oh, he's a lovely man, lovely man. But unfortunately, I don't know why, I never went out with lovely men. And then I just met Steve, and my life changed totally. We wanted to get out of Sydney. We still wanted to continue to do the car rallies. And I came to Cowra just to do a presentation for the Sports Awards. Steve organising the rallies. He used to do like Panama, Alaska, actual real racing type rallies, that sort of thing. And not knowing a straight road to anywhere, we ended up at the back of Cowra near Canimbla National Park, saw this house on the hill, fell in love with it, went further up, on the gate it had Glen Echo for sale. And we looked at each other, came back the next weekend, and eventually it became ours. It's a house that was built in 1896, and the bricks were made in Cowra. It's now 100, it was 2,000 acres, it's 125 acres now. Steve thinks maybe it's 120 too many because I keep populating it with wildlife. And it's lovely. We enjoy the community, they mean a lot to us, and we try to give back into the community. And I think my message to everybody would be to do that. We all have to make it a better world. We have to start with our own community that's right there, right in front of us. We start there, it will then just spread. So I think there's always something what we can do, whether you've got, you know, secretarial experience or accounting experience or whatever it may be, we can all add to make it a better community. Steve and I got married a year ago. It was a long engagement of about 9 years, and we were in Nyngan, which was the last place, not the most romantic place to get married, but we wanted to do it without a fuss, so we just did it on the last day of the car rally. And for our honeymoon, we went over to Royal Ascot into the royal enclosure with the Queen, and we watched Black Caviar. We were there when she raced, and oh boy, was that a thrill. We thought she was beaten, but she wasn't, so that was a great experience watching Black Caviar in London. Another thing I do is WIRES. I work with WIRES. WIRES stands for Wildlife Information and Rescue Services, and I've done training with birds and snakes and possums and wombats, etc., but my great love is the macropods. I don't know if it's got anything to do with Miss World and the interesting kangaroos over there, but I particularly love the eastern greys. I know people don't like them, but just the way they think and the way they care about each other and how they live as a family, they are just a beautiful animal. So I would put 9 months, sometimes 12 months into one animal, and you think, you know, we are culling them by the thousands. So every now and then I get a little bit disheartened about my work with WIRES, but I hang in there. The most I've had at once there, that was a crowded house thing, the most I've had at once was 12, and I used to cart them around in the wheelbarrow going from paddock to paddock, and of course I released them in a very safe environment at the back of a person's property at the back of Frogmore. And I enjoyed them. That's on our property there. They were getting ready for release, and I was just saying goodbye, and off they went. I have one in the car at the moment. Got a wallaroo at home that was completely paralysed from being hit by a car. It's coming good now. It'll be released in about 3 months' time. I think Steve gets a bit concerned about it because he says comments like, your bed would fit very nicely in that roo shed out there. So I know that means he's getting a bit tired of it, or perhaps needs a little bit of my time or attention. I do guest speaking, and the things that I talk about in that is about investment in yourself, in your health, and also your financial security as well. I talk about diets and why diets don't work. I know it's not appropriate for today. I don't believe they work. I think that all health is by balance. You're not going to lose weight unless you exercise and you eat a balanced diet. And so I don't crash diets, just set you up to fail eventually somewhere further down the track. They're 2 girls that I did the car rally with, and I lost Kathy in the black hat in a small aircraft accident, and just adore her, but she made me realise just how fragile our lives are and how important it is for us to just treasure every moment and the people that we have around us, because again in that split second it can just change. So my inspiration during my life many times over was Darryl Brown and his Chico roll. And so inspiration is you're not responsible for the misfortunes in your life, but you are responsible for doing something about them. So you often hear people say the same stuff, oh, I'm not happy about this, I'm not happy about that. Well, I say, well, do something about it. You've got to do something about it. You know, make the change. Take risks. Now, by taking risks, I don't mean go gung-ho into a blazing out-of-control bushfire or something like that, or jumping out of an aircraft with no parachute. But what I mean is step outside your familiar or your safety area, you know, in your own life. I think it's important that we do try new things and try things that we've never done before. And that way we have new experiences and it gives us growth. Uncertainty is part of the overall order of life. Laugh, you've got to laugh a lot. Sense of humour. I love people with a sense of humour. I love people that make me laugh. It's one of the most important things when it comes to good health, is being able to laugh a lot. Courage, and I think this is an important saying for me. I think it'd be the most important one for me, and is having courage to try new things and to, as I said, step outside the normal. And you never discover new oceans until you have the courage to let go of the shore. And I've taken that with me since I was about 30 years old. And every year, I don't do, you know, I'm giving up eating or going to lose 5 kilos or any of that stuff, you know, because I know I'll fail. But I take on a new passion. Every New Year's Eve, I take on it, whether it be learn to ride a surfboard. That year, I was learning how to, you know, ride a cutting horse and cut cattle. And I learned that, you know, the looser you are in the saddle, the better. So that little shot of vodka, I think, did me very nicely when I was up in Tamworth. I was loose in that saddle. And, yes, so have courage to try new things. A roadmap. We all need a roadmap in our life. We all need direction. We all need a plan. You don't have to stick to it, but you have to have a little bit of direction so you do know where you're going. And what lies behind us and what lies before us are tiny matters compared to what lies within us. And by that I mean the type of person you are, how you share yourself with other people, and as I said, the things you do within the community are important, because they're the things that make us who we are. And I'd like to think when my day comes and I go, that I've had a good life, a rich life, and that that I can pass on, you know, as a good and fulfilled person in life. Love and knowledge, very important things. If we don't, well, I believe anyway, that we don't grow old. I still feel young. I'm very young, you know, but we don't grow old. It's when we stop growing we become old. And I think that's very, very true. It's about enjoying every moment we have in our lives. And that way I think I can honestly say I've had a blockbuster of a life so far. And there's a lot more ahead of me. As I said, being involved in the community is so important. Steve and I are very proud to be part of the Rural Fire Service here and the Barry Rennie branch. I was going to say ranch. The fire truck is at our place, and it's a brand new one. We've had it about 6 months now, and it's going into a beautiful new shed just down on our corner so that we can all watch over it. And I think it's very important. I'm so proud of our country, particularly the outback and the bush. Our wildlife means a lot to me, and I think being part of the Rural Fire Service is part of protecting this beautiful country that we have. So it may be a small effort on my behalf. I keep my first aid up to date. I think I might be better there or on the two-way than actually being out there, but I will be available in any way I possibly can, and that applies for Steve as well. And we love being volunteers with the Rural Fire Service, so I hope you all feel the same way. Thank you.
Thanks, Belinda. It ceases to amaze us how the diversity we have in the Rural Fire Service, people with backgrounds like Belinda and all the globetrotting you did over the years, and you know, we come from a rural community and we don't realise some of the experiences that other people have had. I remember being in the Blue Mountains when I was down there for a couple of years. The number of barristers and lawyers and judges and so forth, and you know, people with ordinary, normal, everyday jobs. The range of experiences that we have goes to contribute to the organisation that we've got. And yeah, we appreciate you coming today. And do we have any questions for Belinda? We haven't had a lot of questions today.
No. Could you just put some notes down so I can give them to my wife to show how young you look?
I'm going to take that as a compliment for me and your wife.
No, I'm not being rude, wife, truly, but you do. We were sitting here, Dennis and I were sitting here working out figures going, no, she's not that old, can't you?
I'm 61, and I like being 61. I love being 61. Didn't like being 50 much because I was still in Sydney. I was doing a TV show called Beauty and the Beast, and you know, it was very competitive, and it was all about what you wore and what you weighed. And it was at that stage I made the decision to have the courage to make changes in my life. And that was when I thought, I don't want to do this anymore. I don't want to be sort of evaluated by this. I want to be evaluated by what's inside me. And I think...
And it shows that, I mean, you can hear that you're young. You know,
thank you.
You sound a lot younger than what you are too.
Well, I think I've found my place in life by being here in the community and being just 20 k's out of Cowra. And I love it.
Yeah, very good.
Thank you. I can't stay, unfortunately. I've got a room in the car that needs to be fed and another 3 at home. And,
I'll come and back on Wednesday.
yeah, and Steve is listening, so I'm happy to help.
Thank you very much, and we're very pleased that we're in the process of building barrier reef in your brigade.
Oh, yes, it's lovely.
Very good.